我们反对的是共产党，它给世界带来了恐惧。这个带来的恐惧的原因，就是因为我们懦弱、自私。他们70年来欺骗了全世界，威胁了中国人，才让中国共产党有今天在全世界的风头。大家想一想，我郭文贵如果去了其他国家，我的结局是什么？不是把我锯掉了，是直接把我放到机器里变成火腿肠了，波式火腿肠。而且在座的很多华人朋友，你们根本没有机会站在这个舞台上，因为共产党70年来都是成功的。
Evil done in Victoria Street, painted red and woodline. The handgun, the curtains untied, the underground bouts of treasures, or counterfeit, marching outside. In Scotland Yard, they be working all night long. Nobody's left to go on the go for doubles back, smiling with his mind.
They sounded like a symphony. This place and girl, let me play out your ending. The morning light will always fade away tonight, or to this taking from our side.
他的恐吓，他的蓝金黄，他的威胁，让我们失去了尊严，失去了安全，失去了发声的自由和权利。我们感恩美国，我们感恩西方的媒体朋友们，与我们一起寻求真相，寻求正义。
How can the truth get exposed to places where no one goes? The simple smell of a rose, the secrets start to unfold. Every person wears a mask of fashion, reason and lie. Every action has a reason, that reason desire. Oh Father, 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 oh Father, Father, Father. In this life, how can we live without never sinning just once? We can forgive and forget, but we can live and let rest that cannot take the pieces that are come to you and set light up. I hear a step close behind me, familiar smell, a flashing light. The door opens, we're turning around, the pages lie, left and written, crimson to the touch. No, someone had me wrong, no, this much felt too much as though I know it's the end. You never think of the reason I fought to defend the only justice and you now lives on silently. Words written to be seen.
These wicked things, they sound like a symphony.
One turning around, the pages lie, left and written, crimson to the touch. No, someone had me wrong, no, this much.
Light will always fade away tonight, or to this taking from our side.
共产党对西方的威胁，绝对不是我在这里能形容的。接下来用我们的行动来证明给所有的全人民看，共产党是世界上最大的毒瘤。共产党一天待在中国，它都是人类最大的威胁。郭文贵总是有一句话，我们老叫深陷羊骨陷大陷，我要用事实行动证明给你们。
Hello everyone, good afternoon. This is Lila from Himalaya Quantum. We talk about are your pension funds at risk in episode 12. We know billions and billions of American pension funds flowed into the CCP market. But what about the economic situation at this moment? In this episode, we are going to disclose the upcoming of global economic crisis. Our show is based on Miles live broadcast. Miles is the founder of New Federal State of China. According to the CCP Construction News, the censors of housing construction and municipal facilities undertaken by the housing construction system involves 660 million urban and rural housing buildings across the country. Among them, rural houses are large in volume and cover a wide range of areas, accounting for more than 90% of the total urban and rural housing construction in terms of number of buildings and half in terms of area. while urban houses account for more than 47 million units, which are divided into two categories, residential and non-residential. However, as a Chinese, we never trust the state media or any official media from the CCP country. The data must multiply at least 30 to or 40%. We call it common sense. But the truth that there's now an oversupply of real estate, we have no doubts and estimations of just how many apartments are vacant vary widely from experts to experts, with arguing that there are currently enough vacant apartments to serve more than 3 billion people. Miles told us that the total volume of real estate officially announced by the CCP is 60 trillion US dollars. Well, the actual figure is 90 trillion US dollars. The US, Japan, Germany, France, and the UK together are less than 90 trillion US dollars, which is about 80 trillion US dollars. The CCP's real estate market is more than the US, France, Germany, Italy, and Japan combined. And the CCP real estate is 500% of the overall GDP, 5 times more. And the total real estate market value of the US is 200% of the GDP. Japan is about twice as much. The UK is 3.50 times, and France is 3.5 times, and Germany is about 300%. That means 3 times more. Fannie Mae has been the pillars on which the American housing market of the last 80 years has largely been built. Its way lies in securitizing loans, effectively transforming individual mortgage into tradable bonds. When Fannie Mae occurred crisis, which the real estate is only 160% of Americans' GDP. But today, the CCP's real estate is 500% of the GDP. How could it is possible to keep on going like this without clubs? CCP's real estate is most heavily funded by insurance companies and trusts, which means that CCP put almost all his money into real estate market, and a lot of that money is coming from the world pension funds, insurance funds, veterans funds, and major Wall Street funds. And that's 90 trillion US dollars doesn't even include financial instruments. And the real estate calculations in the communist country only include commercial housing. When it comes to real estate clubs, we have to say Evergrande. Yes, Evergrande Group. Why Evergrande Real Estate? Evergrande, once among the country's largest property developers, is the world's most indebted company. A Hong Kong court ordered the liquidation of China Evergrande, where Evergrande has assets of about 245 billion US dollars, but owns about 300 billion US dollars. His demise is a controlled clubs. What does it mean by controlled clubs? Evergrande's liquidation is a sign that CCP is willing to go extreme ends to call the property bubble. Is that true? The Evergrande crisis exacerbated the wave of real estate defaults, and more real estate enterprises fell after Evergrande. In the first half year of 2022, a series of large real estate enterprises such as Sonac Real Estate, R&F Properties, Shimao Property, Jinke Property have announced their defaults, and both domestic and foreign investors have stayed away from Chinese Communist Party's real estate enterprises. And the CCP's well-known real estate enterprises and their stocks have fallen, and many ordinary people are in abject poverty overnight due to the fall of the stock market. As a result of the wave of real estate defaults, it is bound to hit the and downstream industrial chain involved in real estate, and listed companies and state-owned enterprises can't cash in the IOUs and commercial bills held by Evergrande and other real estate enterprises. Builders, decoration contractors, material suppliers, construction workers cannot get money one after another. The number of people involved is absolutely more than 100 million, and the CCP's unemployment wave rose sharply. As it is an industry pretext for construction enterprises to advance funds to housing enterprises to build houses, a large number of construction contractors have gone bankruptcy due to the delay of the housing enterprises. And many construction units have gone bankruptcy in the Evergrande debt crisis. As you'll see, what we can see, this is, what this, all this downstream and of engineering team and material suppliers is civil workers and also cannot get paid because Evergrande's debt defaults. This is a vicious circle which can cause extreme social instability. The CCP's current social environment is like a powder cake that explodes at the slightest fire. Evergrande is involved in the Chinese Communist Party's foreign debt of $9 trillion, and the money borrowed by the Evergrande group from all the so-called mutual guarantees in Europe, in Holland, in Norway, in Belgium, and in all these countries is huge. Evergrande's $2 trillion of the liability, 2% of the Communist Party's national GDP, 2% of the national GDP has been taken by the Evergrande. It involves 130 banks, 150 so-called financial trusts, financial institutions. What is key to this? It's 130 banks and over 130 financial institutions, which are all fake. You may think about that. Evergrande's clubs is nothing to do with you. It is ordinary Chinese people are going to suffer. We'll show you a report from Reuters fund giant BlackRock and investment banks HSBC and UBS were among the largest buyers of the debt of embattled Chinese real estate developer Evergrande Inc. Morningstar data shows BlackRock added 31.3 million notes of Evergrande's debt between January and August 2021, pushing his stake in the company to 1% of the assets in his $1.7 billion Asia High Yield Bond Fund. According to Morningstar, HSBC increased his positions in the company by 40% through July 2021. According to Morningstar, yes, UBS increased his position by 25% through May 2021. The latest data available in the fund trackers database. Large fund firms such as Fidelity, PIMCO, and alliance their positions in the company by up to 47% between January and July 2021. Morningstar said Norge Bank Investment Management (NBIM), one of the world's largest investors, NBIM, which had some 33 billion US dollars invested across 710 Chinese companies at the end of last year, representing 2.1% of the fund's total investments, would continue to invest in China. US institutional investors are largely involved in Evergrande's offshore bonds, based on portfolio data collected by Morningstar from June to August 2021. London-based emerging markets giant Ashmore Group remains one of the largest holders of Evergrande bonds, with 146 million US dollars held across several portfolios. Large funds in the US and Western countries are important investors in Evergrande. So, Evergrande's collapse means the US economic market will plummet, thus triggering a political earthquake. Evergrande is a vanguard of the Chinese Communist Party's economic warfare, but the Communist Party's economic warfare against the West is far more just Evergrande. And each of the real estate companies like Sunark, R&F Properties, Homestead Development, Greentown, and Wanda is an important weapon against the US and the West. Real estate capital pool is the insurance industry. Ping An Group, Minsheng Bank, China Merchants Bank, with all of China's financial institutions, shadow banking will face financial crisis with the collapse of the real estate. It will lead to the Western financial markets crisis.
The Chinese capital pool for real estate and all insurance industries, such as Ping An, China Minsheng Bank, and China Merchants Bank, will collapse suddenly, as will other banks. Therefore, China's financial institutions and shadow banks are in dire straits. The second thing, as you can see, is that when all these happen, it will impact the international community. You see, the US Federal Reserve System is shaking with fear. Do you know what's happened lately? Let me tell you what I've heard lately. How can we have the CCP hold this back? The United States wishes to kneel before Xi and beg him to hold on to his financial collapse. Have you ever thought about this problem? Did you know that the Japanese finance minister called Guo Shuqing in China 4 times a day to ask if he could help resolve this? He told Guo that everything would be negotiable. About Europe, Europe is also scared. Once this occurs, the euro will face significant challenges. Remember, if Evergrande collapses, the world's stock and financial markets that you can see today will vanish as quickly as burning paper. There are still people who want to keep their stocks. Just wait and see. These stocks will be worthless, which is worse than just paper for the dead. Then the world's financial economy and stock markets will collapse. The scariest thing is that everyone is dumping Bitcoin and Huobi. Why? They realize that when financial markets crash, everyone will dump Bitcoin. Everyone is dumping. Those wealthy people are dumping Bitcoin and Huobi. This is the second one. Thirdly, when Xi Jinping finds out he was fooled, the domestic financial markets are doomed, and the international financial markets are also done. The CCP will definitely intensify the release of viruses quickly. They will release more viruses, let more people die, and let more people stay at home. Do you go to the streets to protest? Are you asking Evergrande for money? They will release viruses. If you ask for financial compensation, they will demand your life. If you go to ask for money, they will ask for your life. In the future, no matter how hard she tries, he won't be able to control the situation. The collapse of financial markets will definitely go from domestic to international. Nowadays, people around the world are begging Xi to stop the situation. They even want to call him the greatest. This is the CCP's mentality. If we all must die, you will definitely die before me. Now everyone is begging Xi to cover up Evergrande's situation. Is he able to do it? There is another issue in China. Do you think Xi is the only person who has the final say? He has only been around for a few years. How much money and how many illegitimate children can he have in these years? Look at the Jiang family, the Zhu family, and the Meng family. Their illegitimate children are counted by the dozen, right? And all their money is overseas, right?
Since 2000, during the preparation for the Olympics, the CCP has made it very clear internally that there will be a war between CCP and the US. Why is there going to be a war between China or CCP and the US? It's just that dictatorships and Western democracies are incompatible. They are enemies by nature. At that time, the Communist Party had already begun to formulate a policy. It had to bide his time, store up his energy, and prepare for a strategic moment. Since the year 2000, in the West, it is the greed, especially the greed of the United States and the greed of the total selfish egoism and the total capitalism has brought the world to today. In 2016, the Communist Party began the full implementation of 3I Plan and 13579 Plan and the BGY Plan, all which had been carefully laid out by the Communist Party for many years, just waiting for this moment. Where did the clubs of the world economic start? It must be from the CCP country. Evergrande is a Lehman Brothers of the United States, and Minsheng Bank is a Berkeley Bank. Now, what's happening right now is that the Evergrande clubs, Sauna clubs, Homestead Development clubs, Country Garden clubs, Wanda make clubs soon. The trillions of dollars they own and cannot repay will destroy all the economies of the world. The collapse of the Chinese finance and the possible invasion of Taiwan and all this real estate and finance is going to cause the collapse of the world economy. Shengjing Bank alone can open tens of billions of dollars in financial instruments. All of this money has been swallowed away by the leading figures of the Chinese Communist Party.
Politicians in the West are now kneeling under the stock market, hoping it will only rise so that they can win the elections. Selfish governments and foolish politicians. Capital is the so-called doctrine of capitalism. Without capital, there is no capitalism, and there is no way to win the election. At the end, only the 1% of people who control the wealth in the US and Europe are desperately trying to push up the stock market. So, they can shear the sheep and kidnap politicians. What was the result? Let's think. How could it possibly be done? They are not as capable as they look. They may be able to push the market up for 1 day, 2 days, or 3 days. They will exhaust themselves even if the market holds up for 3 days. The drop in the stock market will occur sooner or later. Everyone is currently playing past the parcel. Everyone, including Europe and the US, is playing a past the parcel game from one president to the next, or from this president to his second term. But sooner or later, it will fall. So, the CCP is playing this Ponzi scheme. It means the West can't bear it anymore. By then, the West will listen to the CCP. The CCP can help the West hold up the stock market for a bit longer until you win the election. If you don't listen to what I say, everything will fall apart immediately. And now the 1% of people, the people who control the wealth of mankind, are controlling the entire dirty, inhumane game behind this. This is the day when the leader of the CCP said, it's pretty good, more than 70. I thought it should be more than 80. For the CCP, the influence on the Western economy and market will further increase. Not bad. I dreamed about it in a dream, that the central leaders of the CCP were very happy about this. Their faces were glowing, and they also lost a lot of weight. So, finance is a strategic weapon, and it works. How many people died from floods is Deng and Zhang's business. It has nothing to do with me. Goodbye. I am going to relax on the beach. This is the CCP's mentality. But the United States and the world must recognize that these two issues are serious. But all the problems put together are not as serious as COVID-19. This is the real human problem. The core problem with COVID-19 is, how do we stop the deaths around the world from it?
Now let's go back to the financial instruments part. Most of the financial instruments of the CCP's bank are fake. They are Ponzi schemes. The core is that the Belt and Road project, all the country's investment and construction projects are related to these banks. We now see the Belt and Road countries. Sri Lanka has gone bankrupt. Pakistan, Italy, Spain have all defaulted on a large amount of their debts. And not to mention Africa. All the bankruptcy of the CCP, the financial instruments of the Chinese Communist Party amount to almost $100 trillion. The debt of the Chinese Communist Party's foreign commitment is incalculable. So the West is now more or less watered down, more than 40 to 50%. Then the Western currencies, the Western financial markets, and the Western commodities, including oil, gold, silver, copper, and the real estate market, all are bubbled. So we can imagine the Western politicians are deeply influenced by the CCP's economic warfare. Yeah, this is economic and research warfare because the CCP is able to trigger economic crisis in their country. The Bill's nuclear bomb, the financial and research warfare that were supposed to be an important part of the Communist Party's 3-act plan to foment destruction of the US was officially denoted. The collapse of SVB Bank is the first of many dominoes to fall in the world's banking and financial system. In March 2023, Credit Suisse collapsed. An uncontrolled bankruptcy could only be prevented by big government aid and an emergency merger with competitors UBS. Switzerland is now waiting for a parliamentary inquiry report to reveal who was at fault as the bank disintegrated. Of course, it is the Chinese Communist Party, your close brother. The four duchies can be synonymous to the next Great Recession, from the reports that's of Wells Fargo collapsing. HSBC found 57 million pounds of the series deposit protection falling. Banks of America say stocks are headed for big collapse. All the banks have collapsed or ongoing collapse. I just talked about that, but Miles warned us on 12th of March 2023. Whether you are in Japan, France, England, Germany, Africa, Cuba, or whatever country you are, the bank you trust most, the bigger it is, the more likely to collapse. With the collapse of the real estate and financial banking system of the CCP, a global economic catastrophe is coming. The economic avalanche that will fall on everyone. Almost all major banks we see now will fail. Insurance companies will disappear, all caused by its complicity of the Chinese Communist Party and dark forces, collaborators behind it. And the Chinese people are always the biggest victims of the evil CCP. At the end of our broadcast, I want to mention about the Great Depression, the worst economic downturn in American history, which started in 1929 and lasted until 1938. During this period, millions of Americans were unemployed. In 1932, more than 15 million Americans, or 20% of U.S. population, were out of work. This left millions of homeowners unable to pay their monthly mortgage payments, and by 1933, 40 to 50% of all home loans in the U.S. were in default. Home values plummeted, and banks were strapped for cash. Is this time America can recover from the upcoming economic crisis? Thank you for watching. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
The banking giant Silicon Valley Bank, SVB, announced the closure of its banking operations, affecting hundreds of venture capital firms, private equity funds, and startups. This has subsequently impacted major banks like JP Morgan and Bank of America, as well as industries supported by these financial institutions such as real estate and digital currencies. The collapse of the U.S. financial system is inevitable. Brother 7, can the United States still save itself? No, it cannot. Every time prior financial crisis, there's a chance to save, but not this time. Every time prior there's a chance to save. I can absolutely tell everyone, including the Treasury Secretary of the United States, no one can imagine, as Brother Seven told you in the past 4 or 5 years, how much this financial crisis will destroy the United States. No one knows. I can tell you, since 2016, when the CCP began to fully implement the 3F, the 13579 and the BGY plans, when the CPP obtained the hosting rights for the Beijing Olympics in 2002, and the entire World Trade Organization trade qualification, and then the Western world, after 8964, Tiananmen massacre, started to pin their hopes on the CCP, with complete control of the Chinese people as slaves, turning China into a slave nation, becoming a supplier to the Western world. What is trade? It means giving Asia and China explicitly the role of providing low-priced goods for America. In other words, the rights of the entire trade chain. You are responsible for producing all modernized products for me, and they are all low-end. Europe provides me with high-tech, tourism, and becomes my garden. Africa provides energy and minerals. America provides me with oil and serves as my defense line. When it pinned its hopes on the CCP to be a spokesperson for its production line, enslaving 1.4 billion Chinese people, the United States had already begun to head towards a great disaster. And then, unexpectedly, this wolf cub they raised, the CCP, immediately began in 2000, during the preparations for the Olympics, very clearly telling everyone internally, it's just that when you, the ordinary Chinese people in the country, you don't interact with these people, you have no idea who they are, and you don't care. There will be a war between China and the United States. Why must there be a war between China and the United States? Because dictatorship and Western democratic society are incompatible. It's either you or me. There's no coexistence. At that time, the Communist Party had already begun to formulate policies. What did it want? It still wanted to keep a low profile, accumulate energy, and prepare for a strategic opportunity. The West, especially the United States, has been greedy since 2000, completely selfish and self-interested, and capitalism without any bottom line has brought the whole world to where it is today. It's like the United States has already spent all the money it will have for the next 1,000 years, not just 2 or 3 years. Why 1,000 years? It's not your money. It's the credit of the American people. It's the dignity that the American people should have as a great nation in the world. In the Middle East, in Asia, as an empire. It's terrifying how greedy it is. It's terribly ignorant. Of course, it's still a great country.
Take down the CCP. Take down the CCP. Follow me and I'ma set us free. Take down the CCP. Let me tell you what I've been through, baby. Lived a life that was hella unfair. Seen things that been driving me crazy. In a country where the leaders don't care. Didn't think we had the courage to change it. Tore it down and they weren't prepared. Everything that they kept us from saying. Now we talking and they better be scared. Take from us. Tell us what and who to love. Swear I finally had enough.